When you explore American music, there is a genre shrouded in mystery. This remarkable music is relegated to the memory hole to disappear into the abyss. It's called ragtime, America's first unique form of music. It opened the door to professional opportunities for black entertainers in band and minstrel companies, in circus sideshows, traveling tented minstrel shows, and musical comedy productions. Despite Scott Joplin's stately rags, the music began to reach mainstream acclaim through the subgenre called coon songs. This offensive, disgustingly named genre of music was in Negro dialect and incorporated stereotypes and caricatures of African Americans on top of ragtime melodies. The word coon is archaic and has lost its weight. Albeit meaningless and absurd, the word is still exceedingly offensive, and I take no delight in repeating it. The origins of the word coon hide in inference and conjecture. Although there was an early caricature of free blacks called Zip Coon, the word also appeared in minstrel shows as references to raccoons, which enslaved people ate to supplement their diet. The 1820s may have been the time of this misconceived naming, but the word as a designation for black Americans did not become a thing until the 1880s. The end of the American Reconstruction may have played a role in this phenomenon. Suddenly, the word was everywhere. In 1880, J.P. Skelly released The Dandy Coon's Parade, arguably marking the onset of the coon song period. By the late 1890s, the creation of the ragtime coon song became an American sensation. The public was obsessed with black vernacular, dance, and poetry. This environment was a fruitful ground for the growth of opportunities for African American entertainers, encouraging them to begin to push and explore music with more confidence. The felicities of black musicians were still in the hands of white Americans who still had a taste for minstrel shows. Mainstream America enjoyed coon songs because they contained the mockery, stereotypes, and extreme caricatures that were the hallmarks of minstrelsy. Coon songs used street slang and reflected the black experience more realistically than minstrel songs. Many whites viewed ragtime and coon songs as the same, and some whites wanted to suppress it. They felt disturbed by the public taste of music that had meandered off from Wagner and Beethoven. People stopped listening to symphonies and started to listen to songs like Goo Goo Eyes. Black newspapers published intensely debated opinions about coon songs and their prominence on the main stage. Black Americans enjoyed it, but the presumption around ragtime was that it was degrading and intolerable. In a 1904 interview, the famous black British composer Samuel Coleridge Taylor expressed his views on coon songs. He dismissed them as, quote, the worst sort of rot. In the first place, there is no melody. And in the second place, there is no real Negro character or sentiment in these coon songs. However, I will not object to the term coon songs. They may be that, but they are not Negro melodies, end quote. Theater critic Sylvester Russell from the Indiana Freedmen responded, quote, I deny Mr. Taylor's assertion that there is no melody in coon songs. Ragtime is something that Mr. Taylor has not understood and will not understand until he visits some low Negro concert hall and sees how it is naturally executed in music, song, and dance. He continues, quote, this low-life phase of music that has electrified the world is best performed by degraded Southern Negroes than by the best stage artists in existence, end quote. This assertion displays a sense of pride in the achievements of poor African Americans and the music they pioneered. Over the years, Sentiment began to change with even the most staunch defenders of coon songs. Russell later wrote in a column published in 1907, quote, "It was a gracious thing that the public got an overdose all at once. That change soon came when white people began to tire of wench stories and had actually become ashamed of hearing insulting, darky life insinuations set to ragtime music. What harm is in a song? Well, that harm is already done," end quote. Russell began to acknowledge that there was serious harm done by coon songs. The one that may have done the most significant injury may have been Ernest Hogan's 1896 hit, "All Coons Look Alike to Me." The song made Hogan an overnight sensation and had little white children of all ages whistling the melody. The song title inspired the press to inject humor around it, but it also seduced street-level racist violence and taunting to materialize. The African American press did not hold back their criticism of Hogan's song. In an 1897 May edition of the Leavenworth Herald, a report from the mainstream Daily Kansas Star entitled "An Ernest Hogan Item." The report read, "A Chicago police officer shot the wrong Negro during a row in that city. His excuse was all niggers look alike to me." The song's controversial feelings come from the lyric about Lucy Jane Stubbles. She is the narrator's honey gal who ran off with another coon barber from Virginia. In the song's hook, Miss Stubbles criticizes, quote, "I got another beau, you see. He spends his money free. So I don't like you know how. All coons look alike to me." Hogan's piece was not the most offensive coon song at the time. However, it was Hogan's "All Coons Look Alike to Me" that became the catchphrase for the bigoted white society of Jim Crow America. Hogan's contemporaries slammed the presumptions around the song, but none blamed him for the racist violence. Outside of the criticisms he received for "All Coons Look Alike to Me," Hogan maintained great respect in black theater. "All Coons Look Alike to Me" was parodied many times by several artists. In the musical comedy A Trip to Coontown, "All Chinks Look Alike to Me" would be sung by, quote, "the blackest Negro." In the summer of 1898, Billy Miller released "All Spaniards Look Alike to Me." Later that fall, Charles Williams had "All Colored Folks Look Like Little Black Gnats to Me." In the late 1820s, white men would apply burnt cork to their faces and call themselves, quote, "Negro delineators." They claimed to be experts in Negro lifestyle and culture. 70 years later, new experts in blackness would exploit African Americans and their likeness for entertainment value and personal gain. A movement of white females asserting to be, quote, "Negro specialists" arrived on the scene, known as Coon Shouters. Elizabeth Murray, Stella Mayhew, Artie Hall, Marie Cahill, Mae Irwin, and Clarice Vance were untrained vocalists who sang and popularized songs written by African Americans. Clarice Vance is one of the first Coon Shouters. In 1897, the New York Clipper noted, quote, "The coon song singer Clarice Vance is making a decided success with George Graham's tough Negro oddity, 'I Can't Give Up My Rough and Rowdy Ways,'" end quote. In 1898, the Clipper characterized her as a coon shouter and a ragtime vocalist. A few years later, she refined her performance on stage and assumed the moniker the Southern Singer. A sketch of Vance in a 1906 edition of the New York Clipper shows her holding a horrible blackface mask with this appellation below her name. Audiences appreciated that she did not come onto the stage doing the cakewalk or buck dancing. Mae Irwin may be one of the best remembered coon shouters. Her voice was untrained and theatergoers at the time didn't care. She said all the techniques she needed was to take a deep breath and let her go. In 1895, she opened up at Museum Theater in Boston in the title role of the Widow Jones. Through this character, she introduced her new songs, I Want You, My Honey, and The New Bully. The audiences loved it, and a review from the New York Times in September 1895 read, when she sang her new darky songs, one forgot her blonde hair, her peaches and cream complexion, and her blue eyes. In the songs The New Bully and Crappy Dan, Irwin performs a Southern Negro who is the consequence of the new civilization, the bad town darky of the present age. Crappy Dan is a tough coon, his dice loaded with sebins and his acquaintance with a gun. In 1907, she performed at the Orpheum Theater in her first appearance in vaudeville. Perhaps one of the most audacious coon shouters was Artie Hall. Born in Atlanta, her unconventional style of coon shouting and performance made her a sensation while still just a teen. In 1899, she was calling herself the Georgia Coon Shouter. She depicted a young Southern Negro girl and attempted to imitate every detail with facial makeup and style of attire. She subsequently made some appearances in vaudeville without the cosmetics. However, her career was only successful because of her realistic black makeup and singing. An African-American critic said, Miss Artie Hall, a Southern white coon song singer with her natural dialect, has succeeded to qualify. Miss Artie Hall does not seem to understand Northern culture, or she would omit the songs with the word nigger in them. Her greatest art is crying, but she sings ragtime too slow, end quote. On the other side, whites criticized her for removing her gloves and wig to assure people she was white. They said, quote, the house applauds the singing, not the color. African-American critics did not have much admiration for white coon shouters. They were weak imitators in the eyes of black Americans who viewed ragtime as black music. In 1915, Lester Walton, a manager of the Lafayette Theater in Harlem, reported to the New York Age about a white performer on their bill. Quote, so after 16 years of showing white people how colored people sing, this variety girl was given an opportunity Monday afternoon to let the colored folks see how they chirped coon songs and those of the ragtime brand. When reminded she would be working in front of a colored audience and that she should not overdraw her character and make herself objectionable to the patrons of the house, she exclaimed that she knew how colored people acted and she did not need to be given lessons in the subject. The efforts of the fair lady under a coat of tan was not convincing, and some of the disorderly patrons in the audience showed their disapproval by hissing. It was obvious many promptly realized in the beginning they were not listening to the real thing. There is no doubt that this was a cringe-worthy event. A white woman modeling blackface performing a musical as a stereotypical black caricature in the core of what would become the Black American Renaissance was not satisfactory. The term coon shouter was also applied to African Americans as well. The up-and-coming blues singers Gertrude Rainey and Bessie Smith were considered up-to-date coon shouters. Other forgotten black female coon shouters were Carrie Hall, Bessie Gilliam, and Rosa Scott. Bessie Gilliam is one of the first African-American female ragtime coon song singers. She came from a distinguished music family from Detroit. Her father was a prominent performer in string and brass, while her brother emerged in local presentations of Ed Richter's juvenile minstrels. At 16, she toured the western states with the Georgia University graduates in 1896. The Indianapolis Freedman remarked, quote, "Lil Bessie Gilliam is proving that all coons don't look alike to her. She is singing Mammy's Little Pumpkin-Colored Coon to perfection every night." In 1898, she performed in her signature catchy way with the Georgia Up-to-Date Company. In the fall of 1899, she was with P.G. Lowry's vaudeville show, where she sang "All I Want Is My Black Baby Back" and "I's a-Pickin' My Company Now." At the turn of the century, Gilliam led the way into the fast-expanding black entertainment industry. In May 1901, she opened at the Rialto Theater in Memphis with its summer season in ragtime opera. It was here that she created what would evolve into a reserved character in black vaudeville, Tough Lees. Carrie Hall was one of the foremost black stage entertainers identified as a coon shouter. She was known as the queen of coon song singers. She made her name in black vaudeville venues like the Palace Theater in Savannah, Georgia, Domino Theater in Fernandina, Florida, and the Exchange Garden Theater in Jacksonville. She would perform hits like The Game of Goo Goo Eyes by William and Walker, My Castle on the Nile by Cole and Johnson, and Ernest Hogan's Phrenologist Coon. In 1903, the Domino Theater reported that Hall was a hit in the musical Miss Hannah from Savannah. Carrie Hall was the true black stage embodiment of the lively, energetic Southern Negro woman that coon shouters like Artie Hall were trying to emulate. The press anointed African American entertainers like Carrie Hall as Southern coon shouters and designed the route for the genesis of the blues. In 1909, Hall produced musicals at the Royal and Pekin Theaters in Memphis just as the blues materialized. Rosa Scott was known as the Topsy coon shouter. The bookish character Topsy from Uncle Tom's Cabin was the prototype for African American blackface comedians and coon shouters. With her husband, Richard, Rosa traveled for 3 years as the leading lady for the Great Parker Amusement Company No. 1. She did songs like "I Don't Know Where I'm Going, But I'm On My Way," "I'll Be Back in a Minute, But I Gotta Go Now," "Preacher and the Bear," "Santa Claus," "Loving Henry," and "Silver Heels." She journeyed the South and accepted encores nightly from white and black audiences. Coon shouters were not simply females. Charles Wright, also known as Bebby the Coon Shouter, or C.W. Bebby, was an African American entertainer who traveled the South and Midwest with minstrel troupes. Charles Wright was known as the Ragtime Comedian. Wright, along with his partner Sally Cottrell, performed songs like "Baby You've Made a Hit with Me" at the Little Solo Theater in Houston. In 1901, he performed for a packed crowd at the Olympic Theater in Galveston, Texas. In 1903, he appeared with King Simon's Southern Black Troubadours in Arkansas as a lightning cake dummy dancer. In 1904, Bebby stated, "We are getting ours each performance," while in Kansas City with the Tonkawa Medicine Men Company. In 1905, he was working with the Proctor's Arkansas Minstrels. He performed a song called "Chicken Can't Roost Too High for Me" while using live chickens on stage. In 1906, he worked with Howard McCarver's Southern Comedy Company as a stage manager and a comedian. W.L. McMullen was another well-known African-American male coon shouter. He emerged in vaudeville theaters and performed in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky. At the turn of the 20th century, coon songs were evolving again. Coon songs built around the latest black colloquialisms and street slang were becoming more prominent. Examples are Ain't that a shame? I got mine. Get off my money, and tain't no lie. Many of these same expressions extend into the blues of the 1920s and 30s. By the time we enter the 1940s, black slang had become commonplace in rhythm and blues. This element has carried on to this present day in contemporary rap and R&B music. Coon songs also influenced Southern black rural folk music. Between the years 1905 and 1908, social scientist Howard W. Odom accumulated Negro folk songs in Georgia and Mississippi. In 1911, he published 110 fragmented songs in a two-part essay series in the Journal of American Folklore. His work shows us examples of how ragtime coon songs intermixed with black Southern folk songs. Odom said some fragments and one-verse songs he transcribed were like songs in the making that could be interchanged and arranged however one sees fit in an amalgamation. Part of coon songs mixed with folk songs and also with popular songs by whites. Odom divided Negro songs into three classes. The first class was, at the time, contemporary coon songs. The second class was the modified and adapted versions. His theory was that this occurred through varied constant singing of misconstrued lyrics. The third class is folk songs. Odom transcribed a version of "Baby, Let Me Bring My Clothes Back Home," which was characteristic of its adaptation from coon song to Negro song. Other examples were "I Got Mine" by John Queen and Charlie Cartwell, "Looking for That Bully of This Town," "Dat Fortune Teller Man," and "Moving Day" by Andrew Sterling and Harry Von Tilzer. Analyzing the original chorus of "Moving Day" with the folk transcribed version reveals the variations. It's moving day. Pack your bed and get away. If you spent your every cent, you can live out in a tent. It's moving day. Odom's transcribed interpretation went, "It's moving day, it's moving day. I'm a natural born getaway. I spend every cent, go camp in a tent. Lord, it's moving day." Many of the pieces of songs collected by Odom contain themes, couplets, one-liners, expressions, and idioms found in coon songs. "If you don't want me, don't dog me around," and "I'm going where the water drinks like wine" were phrases that were part of fragmented coon song folk music that made it into the blues. Odom connected the dots between coon songs and folk songs of the rural South. Reconstruction's betrayal of African Americans and the loss of hope induced a sentiment of sadness across the country. In the 1880s and 90s, racial tension and violence was at an all-time high. Segregation became the law of the land in 1896, and blacks became systematically disenfranchised, terrorized, discriminated against, brutalized, taunted, and humiliated. Just before the turn of the century, the word blue or blues was associated with feeling sad and was applied more directly to the feeling felt among all African Americans. Coon song composers leaped on the opportunity to use this. In 1901, composer Chris Smith and Elmer Bowman published "I've Got the Blues." Shepard N. Edmonds was a progressive ragtime songwriter. Several of his songs became absorbed into rural folk music. His coon songs were more than racial innuendos and distasteful language. Edmonds' career started in 1895 when he joined his first minstrel show. In 1897, he performed with Isham's Octoroons, and the press spoke highly of his performance of "Gimme Your Eye." In 1898, he wrote several songs including "There Are Others Who Don't Think That Way." The chorus went, "Don't think that because you're yaller, I'm gonna give you my last dollar. Don't think that I'm gonna let you stay. Don't you think that because I'm black, I'm gonna coax you to come back, for there's others who don't think that way. The Mississippi blues singer Son House published lyrics that were very similar 40 years later in his song, Am I Right or Wrong? The lyrics go, "You may not think because I'm black, I'm going to beg you to take me back. Now babe, was I right or wrong? You may not think because you're brown, I'm going to let you dog me around. No honey, was that right or wrong? May not think because you're yellow, I'm gonna give you my last dollar. Now babe, was that right or wrong?" In 1901, Edmonds wrote a big hit called I'm Gonna Live Anyhow Until I Die. African American critics characterized his song as a, quote, genuine ragtime song perfected by class meeting music. On the sheet music was a dedication to the, quote, unbleached American Ernest Hogan. The chorus goes, "I'm gonna live anyhow till I die. I know my kind of life ain't very high. With sticks and stones, you may break my bones. You may talk all you want to about me when I'm gone, but I'm gonna live anyhow till I die." In an early transcription by Odom, we see parts of this song in folk music. "I'm going to live in hell till I die. And I know you're going to talk about me when I'm gone. Sticks and stones going to break my bones. I'm gonna live anyhow until I die" is one of a family of tunes that are between square dancing and the first instrumental blues in style and theme. Edmonds' song was recreated and remixed by several hillbilly banjoists and string players several years later. Another influential African American male songwriter and minstrel performer of the ragtime era was Sidney Perrin. Perrin's music was everywhere, and he knew that he was not receiving the royalties that he should have been receiving. He told a newspaper, quote, "If I had been paid for a number of my songs in proportion to the amount made by them, I should now be retired and enjoying a fortune." End quote. He was right. His song Mammy's Little Pumpkin-Colored Coons was a popular song, and he sold it for only $5. He also sold another song called That's the Way to Spell Chicken for $15. It became a big hit in 1902, and many white entertainers used it in their performances. Several hillbilly artists recorded it in the 1920s and 30s, and in 1967, blues legend John Hurt used the chorus in his chicken song medley. C, that's the way to begin. H, that's the next letter in. I, that am the third. C, that's to season the word. K, that's a filling in. E, I'm near the end. CHICKEN, that's the way to spell chicken. Irving Jones was one of the most successful African American coon song composers of the ragtime era. He sang his original coon songs and performed comic monologues as a headliner on mainstream vaudeville circuits that toured Chicago and New York City. Jones seized the essence of the ragtime era and made an undying imprint on the blues artists of the 1920s. His songs, Take Your Clothes and Go and Let Me Bring My Clothes Back Home, were popular hits. It was in the Fragments of Folk Songs collected by Odom only a few years later after it was published. In 1927, Texas songwriter Henry Thomas recorded it under the name Arkansas. In 1900, he released the song My Money Never Gives Out. It became a popular song and many entertainers performed it everywhere. It went on to be sung by Gus Cannon in 1927 and in 1930, and in Cannon's version, he merges Jones's My Money Never Runs Out with another popular coon song called I Don't Care If I Never Wake Up. Cannon fit the lyrics to serve his style and omitted the word coon from his interpretation of My Money Never Gives Out. Irving Jones then released The Ragtime Millionaire. It also became a big hit, and minstrel performers sang it across the South. In 1928, William Moore, a barber guitarist from Virginia, recorded his version. In 1902, he released Home Ain't Nothing Like This, and it was a success as well. Ads read, "Seems hard, but people will have coon songs. We must supply their needs and demands." In 1903, a critic from Chicago reported that Irving Jones for the past 2 weeks played our leading vaudeville houses and cleaned up everything. White performers did not want to be on the same bill as him because they would have to work hard to make a hit with the crowd. In 1925, he performed with the Georgia Minstrels in what was said to be his first minstrel performance. He stayed in the acting profession until he died in 1932. As the early 1900s unfolded, the public hunger for coon songs began to subside, and African Americans began to condemn it even further. Sylvester Russell interviewed Bob Cole in The Freeman in an October 1905 edition. The word coon played a major role in Bob Cole's success, but in his interview, he revealed that he had a change of heart about its use over the years. He said, "The word coon is very insinuating and must soon be eliminated. I am going to crusade against the word coon. The best class of white people in America abhor the word coon and feel ashamed whenever they hear it used." Cole also heard it used as basic slander in conversation while in London. Russell asked Cole, quote, "How could you name your comedy several years back, A Trip to Coontown?" Cole replied, quote, "That day has passed with the softly flowing tides of revelations." Cole's declaration was unprecedented, and it had an influence. By 1908, press reports were saying things like, quote, "The word coon has lost its usefulness years ago." In 1909, right after New Year's Day, a scathing critique of coon songs was published in The Freeman called "All Coons Must Go," and it delivered the final blow to the genre. The author of the critique blamed Ernest Hogan, Bert Williams, and George Walker for, quote, "establishing the name coon upon our race." The use of the word coon in popular songs diminished after 1910. There are many similarities between coon songs and contemporary rap. Both genres have an exact central derogatory word for African Americans. Coon songs use the word coon, obviously, in their titles and lyrics. During the early 1900s, the word coon became used so often that it became part of everyday language. We see the same similarities with the N-word as it appears in rap and R&B song titles as well as lyrics. The N-word started as a derogatory word, of course. Its use in the Black community as a common term was prevalent, but taboo to say in music or in public. In the 1980s, its frequent use in early gangster rap instigated a continued explosive use in the word through the 1990s. Over time, the N-word's continued use in songs, coupled with rap's ascendance into pop, engraved it into the everyday lexicon. Both genres use Black vernacular and slang as well as misspellings to insinuate Black dialect. Coon songs used Black cliches and expressions from the early 1900s. Rap songs do the same thing and utilize the latest Black cliches and idioms in song titles and lyrics. In Ragtime Coon songs, caricatures of the tough or bully coon was commonplace. These were African Americans armed with razors, ready to hurt anyone in their way, particularly other African Americans. There are similarities in contemporary rap with the modern caricatures of the thug or gangsta. Thugs and gangsters are, quote, tough and have the same violent personalities as the previous stereotype. The stereotype of the violent black is a common central feature of both genres. In addition, hostility and violence towards other blacks is an additional feature that repeats itself in both genres. Both genres glorify making money through low-life behaviors. Coon songs glorified gambling and shooting craps, but so did rap in the early 1990s. Whether owed, given, or taken, getting money is a theme coon songs and rap songs both share. Both are considered black music, but whites profit primarily from them. Blacks compose coon songs and gained fame, but lost fortunes monetarily. The same is happening to blacks today. Even though African Americans are making more money than they ever have in the music industry, the majority of the profits made off the music that they write go into somebody else's hands. This point creates room for conspiracy theories that indict powerful, invisible controllers who manipulate the industry to corrupt black music for profits and power. However, there is no evidence for this back in the 1900s, and there is no evidence for this now. Both genres support non-committal relationships. At the beginning of rap, themes about love and commitment were common. Songs like I Need Love and One Love demonstrated the black man's desire for true love and companionship. Throughout the 1990s, the frequency of love songs written began to decline despite the public's demand for them. Ja Rule and Ashanti songs marked the end of commercially successful rap love songs. Rap music is following the same path as coon songs from the early 1900s. There are no Illuminati conspiracies or evil spirits that are controlling and manipulating black music. History is repeating itself, and we don't recognize it because we don't know about coon songs. If rap music continues down the same path as coon songs, demand for it will diminish. When the coon song era ended, it gave way to the rise of the blues and jazz. If the past repeats itself, then we can predict that at the end of the rap song era, a new form of music will rise. Maybe even the N-word will face its demise in the same fashion as the word coon did. That would mean after rap music falls off, people would stop using the N-word in music. Wow, you made it this far? I gotta say thank you for getting here to the end of the video. And also, I want to give a big shout out to everybody that's already liked the video, subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope that you guys found this information informative. Any feedback that you have or remarks or comments, please leave them in the comment section. And if you like this kind of content, check out my last video on the history of blackface and minstrel shows. It's called Legacy of Darkness. And with that being said, peace.